Well, welcome back to Krown's Kid. Okay, just another bad hair day for me, and I do want to wish you well on this nice Saturday morning where Bitcoin has done actually very little, very fucking little from when we last spoke, but there's a few things to talk about during this weekend, and more of the higher time frames starting to really shape themselves up. So do want to bring a few things full a circle, do want to follow up on a few things from yesterday's video as well, but more or less, as far as price action goes, it looks to me like it's going to be a little bit more of a boring weekend, perhaps, although, well, at the end of the day, man, you can never really count Bitcoin out now, can you? Anyways, as always, I do want to be wishing you the best and the happiest of the happiest. I'm going to get right into the video right now, so let's initiate that television in the live scene, my friends. And there we are, Bitcoin on the 4-hour actually, but I'm going to start off here with the daily. Looks like I'm all discombobulated on my own, on my own behalf right here. But looking at the daily right here, we didn't really get a strong daily total close yesterday. In fact, it was sorry, just reading some of the comments right now. By the way, this video is right now live on Twitch. If you're wondering why I'm like laughing and interacting with the interacting with the chat, it's coming from Twitch right now, but it will be posted on YouTube a little bit later. But just a little bit easier to do it live on Twitch while I record it. Anyways, looking at Bitcoin on the daily, we got a pretty anemic close on the daily total yesterday. What we really wanted to see was immediate follow through from the prior daily total, which was a nice hammer right on over here on good volume. And we did get a little bit of follow through with the wick above, but we didn't close above, which was a little bit concerning. More importantly, we also got stifled by this green 50 exponential moving average right on over here, which doesn't really bode all that well for the lower time frames, because in the lower time frames now we're actually starting to see what we saw before, and that is the 4-hour dildo death cross actually happening officially once again. Now, this is a weekend, and it is kind of more ripe for fuckery, if you want to call it that. So I wouldn't really put as much weight on this death cross just yet until we actually break a major support. But as it is, yes, we do have the death cross once again. And realistically, when you're kind of snaking around like this on your major moving averages, let me just kind of synthesize it down so we can just look at the death cross moving averages and golden cross moving averages. These guys right here, the green and the purple, the green 50 exponential moving average and the purple 200 exponential moving average. As you can see, whenever you kind of snake around like this over a long period of time, it implies that we're in a massive consolidation right now. As we didn't really get resolution once we got the golden cross. We didn't really get resolution once we got the death cross. It was only low time frame bullshit. It did produce some nice moves, no doubt about that. This one right over here sending Bitcoin like what, $1,000 down. This one right over here sending Bitcoin about $1,000 up. So at the end of the day, they do matter. They do hold weight. Or sorry, this one more like $2,000. But as far as as far as the greater picture goes, until we actually break one of the major supports with this going on, I wouldn't really be in a hurry to call like the beginning of a trending move, which is typically what you want to see during these crosses. To me, this kind of just indicates that we're more or less going sideways, which is essentially what we've been saying for the past, really 2 months. While everyone's talking about Bitcoin going to 16,000 or Bitcoin going to 8,000, every fucking day, it's great for YouTube clickbait. It's great to get people interested. But at the end of the day, like, what's more realistic? We're gonna go fucking sideways, and that's really been the name of the game. Just Bitcoin in a range between about 9,500 and 12,500, if you want to call it that. Nothing out of the ordinary has really happened from there, and we don't have resolution on this formation realistically until we actually trade below, technically speaking, about 9,500 to the downside, and then I could be on the side of the bears looking for a move at the very least to about 8,800, then probably about 7,400, 7,500ish region. By the same token, we don't have resolution to the upside until we trade above and take out and close a higher level dildo, preferably a daily back above about 12.4, 12.5. So you can see right now, Bitcoin's just playing off this range. We're closer to supports than we are to the resistances. Bulls are going to want to be buying here. Bears are going to want to be trying to actually break the resistance. But until we get resolution on that, there's not the big trending trade to really be had. It's more posturing and more mental masturbation as we prepare for the actual move. So let's go into the expected moves chart, and I see something very, very interesting here. So this is expected moves with regards to historical volatility, and we do see something incredibly powerful right here. We do see that I should first explain this. So first things first, we have the expected moves chart with regards to historical volatility. Krown is aggressive with that water bottle 80. Oh yeah, man, I abuse that all hours of the day, baby. All hours of the fucking day. The shitcoin police are gonna have to come and take me away. That's how bad it is right now. Jesus Christ. Let me just make sure that's turned up. They're on overtime, man. They just don't stop working. Where's my audio? There we go. Okay, great. Anyways, looking at the expected moves chart, we do see that expected moves are actually squeezing to the upside right now, and we do see that the 20-cent moving average on this, which is represented by the white moving average, kind of flat. So usually that's going to act like a magnet for price action. But because you do see the top of this first standard deviation right around here matching up with that 20-cent moving average, that does tell me that this is a massive pivot on the market right around about 10.6 as far as the medium time frames go, kind of judging our medium time frame trajectory, which is going to amount for probably like $1,000 move, give or take. Anyways, my point is with this is that as long as we're below it, this actually does offer up a pretty massive resistance. And of course, where is that area coming in around? Well, if you guessed, oops, I'm on the wrong chart right now. But if you guessed the 4-hour, the 4-hour death cross right in over here, you'd be fucking right. And of course, it's coming in right at this, right at this level, a few bucks higher than than what we just looked at on that, on that other chart. But more importantly, it agrees with it. And if we put on our drawing tools right here, you do see a nice what do you want to call this? An order block. We can call it an order block right around here. And as long as Bitcoin's below it, pressure is onto the downside. But that also means that if Bitcoin can break above it, then it's clear skies once again, back up to about 11,100 would be the first target. Second target would likely be somewhere right around here between about 11.3 and maybe 11.5. Volume profile would suggest about the same, as we do see volume profile really starting to thicken out exactly where that pivot is as well, right around about 10. We're going to call it 10.6, okay? And anywhere above there, then, really not too much stopping Bitcoin from going and testing some resistances once again. I mean, at the end of the day, what have we done over the past, few weeks? We've come, we popped up, put in our resistance, coming down, put in our support, pop back up, test resistance, then go test your support, then go test your resistance, then go test your support, then go test your resistance, and go test your support. You get the idea, right? So again, since we just tested the support, it is very, very paramount to understand what the next phase is. If we get rejected by this area right and over here, and this is our major resistance, that's going to be your biggest insight that we're actually going to be breaking this whole formation to the downside and heading down to, at the very least, the weekly 21 exponential moving average, and perhaps lower as well. I think it's actually quite likely that Bitcoin would get a little bit lower than that. But until that actually happens, of course, not really looking, it's not really something that I'd be trading for at the current moment in time. Anyways, just making sure the chats are going right. Okay, cool already. All good. There we go. Anyways, you gotta fucking love Twitch, man. It is, it's so lively right now. Anyways, so yeah, that also means that if Bitcoin can break back above this region, then we're probably going to test the top side of our major resistance. Which, if I pull up a fresh chart over here on Finex, we can see that the top resistance is basically these highs coming in right around, depending upon where you kind of approach it from, would be somewhere between around like 11.7 and 12,000-ish region. So that's kind of what's at stake right now. We are looking at likely the next $1,000 plus move. If it's to the downside, it's going to be significantly more than $1,000. Probably going to be like $2,000 or $3,000 to the downside. If it does happen, and to the upside, I mean, even if we stay within this range right here, still looking at about $1,000 move. If we do move out the top side of the range above this guy right over here at about 12.3, 12.4, then I would actually be looking for a massive resolution on the macro to the upside, and we can start targeting moves towards 15,000, 16,000. Basically, just taking everything off and looking at the volume profile in a very, 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 very simplistic way. This is not like the best way to be using it, but you can see that it's pretty much clear skies anywhere above that we are right now. If we can just close a weekly dildo anywhere above about 11.5, 11.6, that'd be pretty damn good. I do believe that if I put on my drawing tools here, I have my I have my nice liquid zone coming in right around about 11.8. So technically speaking, I'd want to see a weekly dildo close above 11.8 to really fully cement like an actual breakout to the upside. And at that point in time, first target would be somewhere around like 14,000, and then we'd be looking at somewhere right. I mean, and this is starting to get like really hairy right now, but you do see a little bit of interest right around 15,000, and then we got the 16,500 area from this from this bull trap right in over here during early 2018. So that's kind of what's at stake on the greater picture. But I want to remind myself, hey, are we getting resolution on this formation, as a whole right now? No, absolutely not. In fact, I'd imagine at the very least it still takes another like week or two to get full resolution on that. So in the meantime, the best thing to be doing, or at least if you want to be trading this, then I suppose the best thing to be watching is actually the lower time frames right here. The 4-hour getting it pretty damn well. We spoke about this yesterday night on the on the uploaded video during the Twitch stream, and the blue box to our downside in our more preliminary areas coming in right around here between about 10.150 and 10.250. You can see that we based off it a few times on this last on this last little drama to the downside, this little consolidation that we're looking at right on over here, and you do see actually a major moving average actually supporting it right now. So we do see the blue 377 exponential moving average actually acting as that support. So pretty formidable one, more importantly, and we can see a very obvious way of kind of trading this one, right? We have the 377 exponential moving average to the downside on the 4-hour, and we got the 200 moving average to the upside on the on the 4-hour as well. And just as we said over the past few days, your first retest into the 200 simple, likely to get knocked back. That's exactly what we got from about 10,550 all the way down to about 10,250. Not, not like a crazy move, but I think it is a little bit more confidence inducing that Bitcoin is holding it relatively okay within this region. But this is, again, the weekend, and I really don't trust oscillators or much during the weekends, just because it takes a lot less, it takes a lot less equity to move the markets. If you're going to be a major market mover, you're probably going to want to do it on the weekends because, well, there's just, the books are a lot more thin. There's less people trading, so it's easier to kind of, do these very nasty hunts. So these would be my two big pivots, as far as kind of judging that like an actual move rather than just getting hunted out and faked out within this region. And as we are right now, let's actually go look at the momentum oscillators again. Keep it in mind that I'm not like too gung ho about using them in this scenario. Actually, we do see 4-hour Stokes still to the upside, but getting very weak here. I'm going to imagine that 3-hour are already down. In fact, they are, and these have been pretty damn good in getting the overall price action. 2-hour going to be down as well, and then hourly should be down, I would imagine, as well. Yeah, in fact, hourly just having a fresh cross to the downside. So yeah, while we are consolidating this region right here, momentum oscillators on the lower time frames would be pointing a little bit further down. Short term, that probably would align with the move back down here. Towards the point of control, or well, if we zoom in on that region, the point of control. But the next major area from the volume profile perspective is about 10.1. We'll call it a little bit under 10.1. But again, this is low time frame bullshit, so it's not really all that helpful. And realistically, like perhaps even just a few hours after posting this video, it's just no longer relevant, really. Anyways, I do think it's worth mentioning though that we do see the higher time frames starting to really line up with each other. So you can still make the argument for both sides right here. That's what I really want to show. I don't really have like a strong bias on this, man. I would have been biased to the upside coming into yesterday because we didn't necessarily have the death cross on the 4-hour just yet. But now that we actually do have the death cross, I'd rather be neutral with if I had to take a position. Well, I mean, you can always play that, man. It offers up it offers up a very easy way to manage risk and reward. Anyways, looking at the 12-hour right here, we actually do see 12-hour Stokes headed to the upside. And these guys have been pretty damn good at getting this overall consolidation. This turned down right and over here from the 5th of August, calling this last top right and over here. The last cross to the upside that we saw right and over here from 28th of July was getting this bottom from 9,500. The last cross to the downside before that was this guy right and over here, getting from 10.7 to all the way down another $1,000, $1,500. Then the time before that, that last cross to the upside was right and over here on the 16th of July. And you can see this one on the 2nd of July, both getting this low and also this low. So the 12-hour Stokes have been pretty damn good at getting this consolidation. So that would be a little bit more on the bullish side, of course. Lower time frames, like I said, I don't trust as much during the weekends. So while they are a little bit more set up to the bearish side, I'd put more weight on the higher time frames here, especially during the weekend, which more often on the weekend, you're going to see like kind of the more obscure time frames take over in a way. I noticed that the 2-day dildo time frame is actually quite powerful on the weekends just because we are in a 24/7 market, but we trade with traditional markets as well, which trade on a traditional market schedule, right? So the best way, or I just have like a little bit of a theory that I suppose when you do a 2-day on spot charts for Bitcoin and you compare that with your traditional markets, that 2-day time frame really starts to get rid of all of like the noise in the interim, essentially, typically during the weekend. Anyway, speaking of, let's go check out the 2-day and see what he's doing right now. And we see 2-day actually did confirm a nice hammer dildo as we saw last night. We did not confirm above any major moving averages. I mean, well, except for the 50, of course. But I really wanted to see it close above the yellow 21. If this was if this was going to be a little more confidence inducing, it would have really helped resolve this formation here. But again, still held below it. And the waiting game continues essentially. This would look to me though that we probably do want to pop back up and test around the red 10 simple, which is about around 10,850-ish region, just from looking at this perspective right here. And I do believe, yes, this is a completely fresh shield right now. So we got both today and tomorrow to trade it up. And I would say that over the weekend, if you did see a move back up to about 10,850. Certainly very much within the cards. And more importantly, we actually do have a bullish setup on the moving averages right here. It's just the price action is not aligned with it. So here's the thing. If Bitcoin, and again, just looking at the 2-day dildo perspective, if we could actually close this next 2-day dildo above the red 10 simple, then I would probably get bullish for that trending move back up to the top side of the range. Of course, this is going to come after Bitcoin would confirm a 4-hour dildo above that critical pivot that we spoke about at the beginning of this video at around 10.6. But I just kind of offering up a couple different ways of doing it. But of course, you'd want to see these things follow one and then the other, and then that's going to set in the more higher time frame trajectory is what I'm really getting at. So anyways, looking at this right here, what our momentum oscillator is saying, we do see 2-day Stokes actually coming to the downside, and they're rejecting the bullish control zone as well. I mean, this is certainly on the more bearish side, and this one really a blow to my own self because usually I put a lot of emphasis on the 2-day Stokes, especially when they line up on the 3-day, which we actually saw not so long ago, and we did get a move for a little bit of time. We got this move from the 1st of August all the way down here, all the way up here, but no real fall through. So Bitcoin still consolidating on the major time frames, and that's really all that you can expect. And speaking of the 3-day dildo time frame, we can go over to it right now. We actually still see 3-day dildos to the upside, a little bit weaker on the on this perspective, but is right at the edge of the bearish control zone. So if we can actually confirm this next one above, then that would be a little more confidence inducing for the longer term. Remember, like a 3-day time frame is essentially like a half weekly, right? So it gives a good insight in kind of where we're going to end up on the weekly. And we actually did confirm above the yellow 21 exponential moving average yesterday, which I'm never going to be bearish on an asset that's above the yellow 21, on a higher time frame like this, which we do have right here. So I would say that that's a little bit that is certainly more on the healthy side. This a little bit more on the bullish side right here. But again, it's not conclusive. It's more consolidation area than anything. It would just say that we're in still a healthy consolidation, which I think is further verified just about on every metric that we look at. First things first, structure. We essentially have a series of higher lows here and also a series of lower highs. Of course, how the fuck do you get a symmetrical triangle? Well, in some variation of that. If we look at historical volatility percentile, we see it falling off from left to right and really getting wrangled down by this moving average on it. So that would also suggest that we're essentially contracting, which is what consolidation is. You're contracting. You're not expanding. You're not trending anymore. You're contracting, of course. And then on top of that, we do see volume signature also confirming as well, going down from left to right, and we do see daily RSI also confirming this as well, just oscillating really between really just in the neutral zone, kind of testing the bullish control zone, kind of testing the bearish control zone, but neither really getting too comfortable in either. Although a little bit more in the bearish zone right now, but I do identify this as well. I do identify this as hidden bullish divergence between this point and this point. Bitcoin made a higher low, but RSI made a lower low on the oscillator. So that's telling you that the bears are using more ammo, they're using more energy, they're using more resources, I suppose, or putting more power into the market, and getting less of the way. I mean, we created quite literally a higher low by a magnitude of, I believe, $500. Yeah, this one was about 9,500. This one was about 10,000 right here. So yeah, about $500, which is significant. So I would still say that to judge this before it actually breaks is still very misguided. Like the analysts in Bitcoin, the analysts in Bitcoin are so fucking dubious, and I mean, and I say it, and I say this in good faith. I really do, because I believe that most people are just trying to do their best, right? But the analysts in Bitcoin, like they're always telling you that this thing is fucking moving at all hours of the day. It's not. It's not. For the last 2 months, we've been sideways, man. That's all there's been to do. There's really not anything like crazy to be looking at here. I mean, we can look at the underlying market dynamics on the crypto fear and greed index, and we're kind of taking out hey, get off there, you fuck. We're taking out a 20 right now, which is certainly in the more fearful zone, no doubt about that. I mean, this is kind of where we'd put in lows during 2018 during an actual bear market, but it is concerning now that we've really spent a lot of time in the more fearful zone, which is not to be is not to be expected when you're in a more trending, prolonged upwards market. You'd expect those more fearful spikes to be bought up immediately because people essentially want to buy the fear. I mean, that's the whole moniker of a general uptrend, especially one that's quite strong. In this case, in this scenario, not as much. In fact, a little bit anemic, kind of coming back down here. But again, a secondary type consideration on the market, not really too interesting, in and of itself. But line it up with actual, line it up with the tentacles right here. What is it telling us? Again, it's telling us things are more or less neutral in this region. Going back to the expected moves chart for a second, I forgot to mention this. So we see the top side of the first standard deviation coming in right around here, right around 10.6. Remember, that's exactly where the 4-hour death cross was coming in around. Also the blue box territory on our technicals, and we do see the 20-simple moving average coming in right around here as well. The 20-simple moving average is flat. We have we have the expected moves with regards to historical volatility squeezing to the upside. So what is that telling us? It's telling us that we probably do test this region. But if it turns into a rejection, that's gonna be a clear and obvious signal that we do want to play out the death cross. And if we do play out the death cross, then we're likely to actually come back down and break one of those critical areas and actually get resolution on this formation. What would that critical area be from a 4-hour dildo time frame perspective? Well, you can look at this blue box territory right here. I'd say that would be a little bit more of an aggressive way of doing it. I don't really think it's too appropriate. I probably wouldn't take that trade myself. We actually broke this to the downside. I don't think that fully implies that we're going to break down, but I do believe that anywhere below about 9850 to 9900 is going to be problem city for Bitcoin. Technically, though, like I said before, the last of the Mohicans for this, for this last line of defense is right around 94, 9500 for the bulls. But I really don't believe that if Bitcoin comes back down to this region, it holds back up. It's really worn out. It's really worn out. It's what's it called? It's welcome at this, at this bottom support. And for, and for the greater time frames, we do see that this formation is really maturing. So it is going to get resolution likely within this next few weeks, likely within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So let's actually look at a weekly right now and see how it's kind of shaping up. And I want to follow up on something that we were looking at yesterday because I think it's quite interesting to me. And if you're familiar with this, I used to use, I didn't used to use, but my mentor used to use the 9 exponential moving average on a weekly perspective to kind of judge strength of trends. In the same way that I use the 10 simple, I usually use the 10 simple, but my mentor would a lot of the times use the 9 exponential moving average during these sorts of moves. And you can actually see that the 9 exponential is getting things a little bit better here. So I'm really considering to actually swap out my red 10 simple for the 9 exponential moving average, as on the weekly it does seem to be getting things a little bit better. But the key thing is right now, is that we're gonna, I believe that we're gonna have resolution on this relatively soon. On understanding which one's the right one to use, because here's the thing: if we go over here to CMEs, right? CMEs, which have closed for the weekend, have confirmed below the red 10 simple, but you do see that they did close above the 9 exponential moving average right on over here, which you would actually, technically speaking, the 9 exponential should be more reactive to price action. So I'm curious to see if this one actually does hold up on Bitcoin better, because what you'd expect to see from here is if Bitcoin does rally back up, if we take out this next level, that the 10.6 level to the upside, then I would say that the 9 exponential moving average is the is the one that's more readily used, I suppose you could say. And this would look a lot more healthy from a traditional standpoint. It would look like a massive consolidation at a high level, at a very low period moving average, which implies that this is incredibly bullish. By the same token, if we actually do confirm, if we do head lower, then that would tell me that the red 10 symbol is the right one to be using, and that's going to imply that we probably come down to the high 8,000s at the very least, meet up with the yellow 21 exponential moving average on the weekly, which is actually the 9 right now, but you get my point. And then we see the same thing on GBTC as well. Remember, GBTC also closed for the weekend yesterday with traditional markets at the same time, and we do see that we see the exact same signature here, breaks the red 10 symbol to the downside, but does not break the 9 exponential moving to the downside. So I've been playing around with this a lot recently, just because I did feel like the last few weeks have been a little bit left of center by using the red 10 symbol. You do see a fake out here, but you didn't see it with the 9 exponential moving average. So I did want to point that out as potential contingency to what not a potential contingency, but just something new to pay attention to going forwards here. Of course, it is worth mentioning that the weekly still does have some pretty nasty things on it. We do have a little bit of bearish divergence going on the RSI, getting rejected by the exponential and getting kicked out of the bullish control zone right on over here. Typically does align with the test down to the yellow 21, but then again, we did get pretty damn close. So does that essentially satisfy it? We came about within about 7% of it. That's actually not that close. I wouldn't say that's that close. We do see weekly Stokes to the downside as well, and then more importantly, we do see that the weekly Jewel, of course, I've been repeating this a million times, so don't let me bore you with this one. But basically, we get this very specific signature on the weekly Jewel where we get the light blue oscillator in the critical zone, get the red flash in the background, get a negative slope on that same light blue oscillator, and then cross the pink slower moving oscillator to the downside. Each and every time that we've seen that signature, we do come down and test the yellow 21 exponential moving average on the weekly. Usually pretty damn fast. Within like a few weeks, as you can see on most of these examples right here, and here, and this one took about 2 months. And as you can see right now, we have the exact same signature, of course, in line with that, and we have not necessarily fully and formally tested the yellow 21 exponential moving average just yet. So if we've seen this play out 1-to-1 10 times in the history of Bitcoin, each and every time just about perfectly, no more than about 2 to 2.5 months does it take, and we're kind of at that space right now. So I do want to represent both sides equally and fairly here, but if I had to lean one direction, I probably would still lean to the upside. The thing that's making me least lean to the upside is just the fact that I think most people are bullish right now. I actually spend a little bit of time time perusing through the YouTube videos this morning and looking at like all the recommended videos, of which there's just an endless amount. Holy shit, man! How does anyone decide? But it seemed to me like most people are bullish, which I can understand that. I can certainly understand that. But it's very difficult for me to be bullish as long as we're caught below the white 200 moving average on the 4-hour daily time frame right here. That's like the most actionable thing for me right now. If Bitcoin can get back above there, hey, glory times, and and I'd be looking for a move on the lower time frames back into the low 11,000s, and then probably beyond, and fill out this region right on over here. By the same token, man, the more time that we spend below the 200 simple, especially, the more time that these moving averages right here will have to actually diverge away from each other, and that will strengthen the cross, get more and more bots and algos on the same sell side. And then you'll actually likely see a breakdown below the blue 377 exponential moving average, and we'll come back down and test some lows. At that point in time, you got to hold your breath once again as I burp up my my morning ground beef and hope this area holds once again, which I do not think it will hold again. If we come back down here, I do not think that this one holds. So that's kind of what's at stake right now from Bitcoin's perspective. But let's go check out the top 2 shitcoins and see if they are, if they're signaling anything right now. Mrs. Litecoin first and foremost, because, well, she's a lady and we are gentlemen here, of course, on at Krown's Crypto Cave. We are gentlemen's, anyways, and gentlewomen's, and also gentle genders or gender neutrals, whatever the fuck that is. Long talk. Anyways, alrighty. Okay. Sorry, I'm just reading some of these comments. These are so good right now. Cryptstar says Alessio does not have any skin in the game. He is no real trader, but an analyst who is creating clickbaity titles and presents scenarios that are not helpful to for the average Joe. I mean, I can't really speak directly to him, man. But my main rule is, which I've actually been violating myself recently, is if you're not showing trades, then what the fuck? But I can't really show trades if I do these live streams because, well, for obvious reasons, right? But I should be able to figure it out relatively soon. And if not, I can always just go back to just doing these videos, just standardly uploaded anyways. But yeah, man, here's the thing is the thing that I've learned most from being on YouTube is that I understand that you have to do like the clickbait and all that bullshit for YouTube, and that's good for the algo and whatever the fuck, man. It's I understand that. For some people this is their main source of income, and in that case, like, you're gonna get more of a marketer's vibe. But that's exactly what they're telling you, is that they're a marketer, and that's okay. People need to make their money, and if people provide value, then yeah, of course they should get paid. I don't want to be on the same side as like some people who just think that like anyone who's making money is just like is like evil or something. That's just insane. It's fucking insane. You're never gonna get rich with a belief like that, of course, because then you'd be going against your own your own self. But more in line with someone like that, it seems to me like it's a little bit more on the marketer's side. If I had to say. Okay, Mikey RHG says, Krown, you need a stream PC and do your work on another PC so you can VPN. Actually, I've been thinking of doing that, man. If there's gonna be massive benefits from just having another computer, I would love to build another computer, man. It was so much fun. It was really, really fun. Anyways, looking at I keep on getting sidetracked. Looking at Mrs. Litecoin right here, weak as fuck, just ugly as fuck chart. I mean, Mrs. Litecoin is like the dog of the group right now. Jesus fucking Christ. I do think that she probably does bounce somewhere right around like 68, 69 bucks. But longer term, this is a pretty atrocious formation right here. Clear rejection off the red 10 simple and down. I mean, I'm sure some of the head and shoulders people are calling it head and shoulders right here. You could make the argument for it, although it's not. It's not perfect. You do sometimes see them, shape up like this, and the volume signature is actually a little bit is actually appropriate for this. So I'm just curious what it would suggest if we actually did play it out. I'm not saying that this is going to play out, but I'm just curious, if this did, and that actually suggests a new all-time low. So I'm gonna go with probably not, probably not what we're looking at right now, which is a good thing. Which means that this liquid blue box right here should provide more of a bounce behavior. It looks to me like we want to come back down and test it once again, and this could take us all the way down to about 68 bucks, it looks like. But I would be looking for a bounce within this region, and probably does bounce back up and test somewhere around like high 70s to low 80s in the coming weeks, I'd imagine. But again, looking at the weekly right here, this weekly is atrocious, man. Regardless of any sort of a bounce in the coming weekend, or sorry, in the coming weeks, I'm not so confident that this one would get any sort of fall through. I think that those bounces get sold. Mrs. Litecoin looks very, 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 very nasty here. Looking at the monthly, I think it gets even a little bit worse. Looking at the monthly right here, we are in danger of closing a monthly dildo below the yellow 20 exponential moving average. It's really going to take a lot of salvaging between now and the end of the month to actually get this girl back above. And if she does close anywhere below, I actually would be looking for this to get extended further south, probably back towards the $60 mark, perhaps even beyond, maybe $50. But again, this is more long term, and it's probably going to come into confluence with Bitcoin to begin with, right? If Bitcoin comes down, you're probably going to see Litecoin come down as well. If Bitcoin moves up, you're probably going to see Litecoin just somehow just have like the angel, the angels just bring her up. But right now, if I was just looking at Mrs. Litecoin, ugly, super fucking ugly. She's got to get a makeover. Looking at Mr. Butyrol, oh god, it's even worse. Jesus fucking Christ, man. This goddamn shitcoin police taking too much time off. Chart's on the loose right now. Looking at this bitch, this is disgusting right here. Any sort of a monthly dildo close below 230, 240, and this does not look good to me. But same thing as Mrs. Litecoin, right? If Bitcoin moves up here, if Bitcoin moves back up to the top side of the range, you'll see somehow that Mr. Butyrol just saves himself, just like you'll probably see on Mrs. Litecoin as well. And if Bitcoin breaks down, well, this baby has plenty of fucking room to the downside. So that's kind of the problem with it. And so now we can really judge like relative strength and relative weakness with it, with regards to the market. And I'd say that Mr. Butyrol is on the relatively weaker side. I'm also curious about the other top shitcoins, just to get like a general overview of what they're doing right now. Let's go take a look at Monero. Monero, a little bit more on the healthier side, but also not too impressive. We did both. I believe we both opened and closed. Yes, we did both open and close that last daily dildo above the purple 200 exponential moving average right here. And I would say that Mr. Monero actually did have one of the better reactions. So this would be a little bit more confidence inducing. And Mr. Monero does look like he wants to actually trade back up to $87. So it's good to see that some things in this market are showing a little bit more of a neutral stance, or even like slightly, like a small iota of bullishness. So that that kind of does help Bitcoin's case out. As typically we want to see everything moving together within this market. Let's go check out Mr. Ripple's nipples over here. Mr. Ripple's looks like he wants to have a little bit of a bouncy bounce up as well. I'm not necessarily saying that the downside is over just yet, but I do think that it probably does come back up and maybe test around like 28 and a half cent region. Looking at the weekly right here, we are kind of resting on the 200 the 200 exponential moving average is really going to come down to the weekly digital close. Do we close above or below the white 200 simple moving average, which is about 28 cents? If we close below, big fucking problems. Close above, and probably get to play out a little bit more of a bounce, I'd imagine, coming into next week. But for right now, still with 1 day left, we are very much below that white 200 simple. So that bounce up to about 28 cents needs to come quite literally within the next 24 to 36 hours to make that weekly not look like complete shit. Anyways, what other top shitcoins do I have? We can go check out EOS for a second. EOS looks almost the exact same as Mrs. Litecoin. Much worse posturing though. Probably does pick up a few bids down in this region just because you see a lot of wicks in this region. But I'm not so confident on if it came back to like 380, it's going to be a slow trudge up through there as well. But of course, remember with any one of these altcoins, Bitcoin comes first, typically speaking. So if Bitcoin moves up, you're just going to see these guys just float up, just being carried up by the angels in the outfield. I'm curious about Neo as well. Neo, same thing essentially. 1030, the next major region. Tron Cash, bad as bad. Oh Jesus fuck! God damn, man, it's ugly. Bcash, okay, kinda. Nah, not really. I mean, it's basically in a rising channel bear flag right now, isn't it? We see something like this, which is more statistically likely to break out to the downside. Although we did have this massive bull wick coming off of a couple days ago low, so that does make it a little more difficult to actually see that playing out. And in fact, I very rarely funnily enough, and tell me if you agree with this, but I very rarely see flag formations play out in Bitcoin land, or at least bear flags. For whatever reason, bear flags have turned into like BART flags essentially, and a lot of the times you'll see them like look like they're going to break down, and then at the last second, then the BART happens. I think that's like the most accurate way to actually even get a BART. But the problem with Bcash right here is that we actually do have an official death cross confirmed as of, I believe, yesterday, and we are getting a little bit of divergence between the green 50 exponential moving average and the purple exponential moving average right on over here. So the reason why I'm going through all these guys is because we can get a general sense of the broader market, right? And we want to see things more or less line up with each other. And I would say that the broader market is certainly on the more bearish side. So, which one comes first? Does Bitcoin come first or the broad market come first? Well, on the last drop, actually, the broad market was looking a lot more bearish. Bitcoin was looking a lot more neutral, and we went to the downside. So I would say that the broad market does actually hold some weight, and if it is something to go off of, then it actually would be a little bit more on the bearish side. But remember, I want to reiterate what I've been saying this whole fucking time. Hey, this is all mental masturbation. There's just a few levels to be aware of right now. They're very, very well defined. All you have to do, watch this area right here, 10.6. Watch this area right here at about 9.8. And watch this area right over here at about 12.3, 12.4. Until one of those areas is really broken, we don't really have too much to really talk about. And for what it's worth, I do believe that Bitcoin actually does work its way up here. Like I said, the only thing that's really holding me back from from actually taking a position on that is basically the 200 simple, and then just the fact that most people in this market right now, I believe, are bullish. But again, I don't really think I have like a good grip on on market sentiments. It's very difficult to get. I mean, if we're going off of market sentiment, represented in this format, everyone's it's just that people are more fearful, of course. But I don't really get that feeling, kind of perusing the webs. So let me know what you think, because I'm really, really curious, because everyone's gonna have a different subjective opinion, but I'm curious what people think. Do you think that the general market is more bullish or bearish, just based on sentiment, not necessarily what you think about the charts, but on actual sentiments? As I'd really love to hear that, just because I don't think I have a good gauge for that. I'm kind of stuck in my own echo chamber a lot of the time as well. Going over here and checking out traditional markets for a second, we have SPY. SPY, I believe, does carry out the bounce a little bit more coming into next week, although I'm not necessarily convinced that the downside is over just yet. But same thing here, I've actually been going across the broad market, and the broad market is not bearish right now. The broad market is actually pretty neutral and just trading in the range the past fucking year, man. When you hear all the talking heads on CNBC talk about like inverted yield bonds curves and all this bullshit, I mean, it's not bullshit. It's legitimate, but you hear all the warning signals being raised right now, and I don't really think it's appropriate, like on this exact moment right here. If we start breaking below about 275 on SPY, on SPX, anywhere below like 275, 270ish region, that would be massively fucking bearish. But shit, this thing could come all the way back down here, and I'd actually be looking at this area for like the next major bounce, most likely anywhere around about 275, give or take a buck. And I do think that we probably actually do head back down there. I think what's most likely to happen coming into this next week is we carry out this bounce a little bit more, pop back up maybe to like low 292 and a half to 293, and then probably continue the downside and hit in the mid 270s, and that's going to be the real area as everyone gets super fucking bearish. You're going to hear all of the headlines on CNBC and whatnot telling you about how the market's going to go to hell in a handbasket, and everyone's fucked. And that'll probably be a pretty damn good area. But what you really want to see is you want to see extremes on the volatility indexes. That's what you want to see, and typically those are the major areas where we actually set in like major bases. So keep that in mind going forwards. But like I said, it's probably still like a week or so away. Anyways, Bitcoin pumping back up. We got 10,360. Not bad, Mr. Bitcoin, showing some life once again. There you go. And if you're looking at this area right over here, you could say that this is just a very small, what do you want to call it, symmetrical triangle. Now, do I trust formations this much on a very low time frame like this? Nope, not really. But it is the weekend, so weekend bullshit continues. And of course, looking at a measure move on this, if we do break it to the upside, it actually doesn't even bring us above this blue box territory right here, which is the critical area, right? If we can actually confirm above this region right over here, I do believe that Bitcoin will just start to float its way up to like 11.1 to 11.3ish region. Keep that in mind. But for right now, Bitcoin, even if we do explode this guy to the upside, still has a little bit more work to do, and I need to see if like at least a 2-hour doodle confirmed above about 10.6 would do it for me. By the same token, anywhere below this region right over here at about 10.250, and we'll actually destroy this blue box territory, and I'd be looking for a move probably down here to test our last little interim support right around 9,900. Anyways, I think for YouTube, I might cut the video off there, so I might stop recording for YouTube for a second, but I'll stay on for Twitch. I just want to make sure that I got everything. Let's actually go look at the Bitcoin dominance chart really quick. Bitcoin dominance right on over here on the cryptomarketcap.com bullshit. Yeah, it looks okay. So we did hit that target at about 70 and a half. Okay, we got to 70 spot 4. Close enough is close enough. I do think that we find a little bit of resistance here, and probably do head back down and test some supports coming into like next week or the week following. But more importantly, longer term, I would still be bullish on this. Weekly is. Hold on. We need to see this one close first. I could actually get massively bullish from here. If 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 we see the weekly close anywhere above like 70.76, 70.75, then I'd actually be looking for immediate continuation, and this baby is gonna fucking rip. Like truly fucking rip to maybe like 74%. I mean, would be like a first target, and a second target would actually be all the way up here towards maybe 78%. That would massively, drastically hurt alts. So that actually would imply bifurcation in the market, where we see Bitcoin, break to the upside while all the alts crumble down. Possible, but we haven't really seen that yet. We actually haven't seen that happen, I don't believe, once in Bitcoin's history. And sorry, with regards to the same trading asset. So Bitcoin versus dollar, and then nameless altcoin here versus dollar as well. Usually we see things move together. So in this scenario, if we actually did if we actually did have that happen, and we'll have clarity on this by tomorrow. But at the end of the day, if we actually do see that happen, that actually could be your first major signal that we actually do get bifurcation in this market, which would be a whole new phase. We just haven't seen this happen before, so that would be quite eye opening. And you do have to realize that we do have a little bit of a similar kind of setup, I suppose you could say, that we had in 2017, right, with CME futures being announced, with backed essentially getting the green light for trading in late September, I believe it is, confirmed as of yesterday. If we see Bitcoin start to really, make leaps and bounds, like I think, usually things will rally into their events like that and then sell off like maybe like a week before the event or quite literally on the event. I think in the case of CMEs, you saw them sell off, or you saw Bitcoin put in the high about like a week before, if I recall correctly. I could be wrong on that one though. But more importantly, you could get a similar situation like that. So it actually would make sense from like an underlying market dynamics standpoint, matching that up with with the micro actually getting bifurcation right now. But we need to actually see that confirmed first. And as long as Bitcoin's below that 10.6 pivot, I'd say that's obviously not wouldn't be my main look as long as we're below there. But as we kind of hang around this region, it is it's within the cards, and we're gonna get clarity on this tomorrow. So I'd actually back off from what I said earlier. I don't feel at liberty to call this one right here, whether it's a high or a continuation. I'd rather wait for tomorrow's weekly total close, any close above this region right here, and I'd be looking for continuation, and that's going to likely imply that Bitcoin does resolve to the upside, and we'll probably actually see altcoins get soaked up at that point in time. I suppose something to look forward to in the next 24 hours. Anyways, going back on to Mr. Bitcoin, let me actually just wrap this one up for the YouTube crowd. And essentially, like I said, over the past week or so, nothing's really changed all that much. We do get, we did get the death cross on the 4-hour once again. But until Bitcoin actually breaks one of the major supports, I wouldn't necessarily look at it to get played out, especially when it happens on a weekend, because weekend action, typically floaty and flighty, and all that good bullshit that we love, right? And more importantly, if Bitcoin does break back above the white 200 simple on the 4-hour dollar time frame, or this blue box, which is essentially synonymous with each other at about 10,550 to 10,600, then I would be looking for a move to float up here towards about 11,150 to 11,300-ish region, and then kind of reassess from there. And it'd present a much more healthy picture from the long term. So realistically, to kind of wrap it up, if Bitcoin does break down here, I don't think that it holds again on this bottom support. I think that it's quite likely that we actually break through it. Technically speaking, though, 9,400 is still that last last line right there, the last line in this the sand as far as I look at. And if we do break it, then we can talk about much lower prices. Just like breaking this guy to the upside, we can talk about much higher prices. As long as we're caught between these two, the greater picture is still just consolidation. Anyways, with that said, I do want to wish you well on YouTube. I will see you soon, my friends. But for now, we're going to continue this on Twitch. So take care and see you soon.